Pagepedia, the global data system of information. It is with utmost humility and sincerity that we present Pastor Wale Adefarasin, General Overseer of Guiding Light Assembly, as a living testament and recollection of history in the making in our generation.
We are heroes of our nation. We are heroes of our land. Pagepedia, celebrations of champions.
My name is Wale Adefarasin. I am the pastor or general overseer, as I'm called, of Guiding Light Assembly, which has headquarters here in Ikoyi and a few branches across Lagos, in Abuja, and in London. I am married, very happily married to a wife, Olaolu, and I have 3 children who are 31, Ademide, 29, Ademola, and 27, Adeolu. So they're not young anymore by any stretch of the imagination. I was born in Lagos. Because I was born in Lagos, and lots of people in Nigeria are born in Lagos who are not necessarily from the Yoruba tribe, I'm campaigning to see state of origin dropped from questions, official questions, etc., because it's holding us back as a nation. So I'm not going to talk about my state of origin. I was born in Lagos, was bred in Lagos, and traveled out of Lagos to the United Kingdom, where I did first my A-levels and then my university education, and worked in the United Kingdom for a few years before returning to Nigeria to start business. I was working in the oil industry as a businessman, supplying products and exporting oil products for some time. As far as my secondary education goes, I went to St. Gregory's College, Lagos. So I don't know if anybody out there is from Greg's, up Greg's. It was a very, very important time of my life because I learned, because I'd come from what some people might call an elitist background, even though my parents were very simple people and never and were very humble and taught us all to be humble. But I ended up in a school where I was mixing with maybe the chairman of the largest multinational in Nigeria's son and the son of the school cook. So we all just got on together and we learned that even though you come from a wealthy or a poor background, you are who you are by what you achieve yourself in life. So that's me.
Everyone is born for a purpose. Pastor Wale Adefarasin reveals his life's purpose.
First and foremost, one of the greatest influences in my life was Miles Monroe, the late Miles Monroe. I listened to him at a church in Ghana, at Mensa Otterbill's church in Ghana, where he talked about purpose. And until then, I thought we determined what our purpose is. And I realized that God sent each and every one of us onto this planet for a purpose. Now, up until the time I listened to the late Miles Monroe, I was a businessman, but I was also a born-again Christian, pastoring or semi-pastoring a church. I was kind of doing business and pastoring at the same time. And it took me about a year to realize that my calling was actually into ministry, and that if I continued in the business I was doing, I would be at conflict. I'd be at conflict in business with some of my members. We would be competing for the same jobs. I'd be at conflict with myself because there were some times I would lock myself up in my office and I wanted to spend time in prayer and just studying the Word of God. And the phone would ring, and it was a business call that I had to attend to immediately because lots of money was involved. And I find myself leaving and feeling so bad that I wasn't able to achieve what I wanted to do that day. So I'm called into ministry. In ministry, I find myself to be first and foremost a father. I think that's the kind of ministry God has given me, to father people, to mentor people. I stand behind pulpits and share and preach the gospel, but I'm much more at home just in trying to deposit something into somebody's life, in trying to help them, in trying to relate with them and ensure that they are themselves able to achieve God's purpose for their life. So I would say that my purpose in ministry is to father.
Pastor Wale shares with us how he got to this height.
Well, I would first of all say I've not got to a height. I just started working in ministry. I didn't found Guiding Light Assembly. It was founded by an American who was living in Nigeria and working in the United States embassy as the air attaché to the embassy. He did about 2 or 3 years, and by the time he left, leadership of the ministry fell into my hands. And really, after he left, we hardly ever heard from him again. So it was during my leadership that we registered officially as a church and started some 30, we're about 31, 32 years old now. I think we'll be 32 years old in 2017. And I just did the work that I was called to do. And I think little by little, for instance, this church is built not on a swampy area, on an area that once was part of the Lagos Lagoon. We bought the land when it was still lagoon. And as a result of that, we paid a fraction of what it costs today. We built this when we had no money in our pockets. We were just, from day to day, raising money till this was built. So I would attribute everything that we have achieved over here to God and to God alone, because it was just a miracle.
Here's what Pastor Wale Adefarasin would like to be remembered for.
Whoa, I'm not about to leave. I'm going to be 65 at my next birthday next year, so I still reckon I've got at least another good 15 years. I would like to be remembered for passing the baton on to the next generation. I think it's very important that whatever we do, we hand something over to the next generation. I would like to hand over the running of this ministry to somebody in the next generation so that I can be around to help them get into ministry. I would like to be remembered for touching people's lives and turning them towards God. I believe that God has created us, blessed us to be great accomplishers, but until we connect with Him and have an ongoing daily relationship with Him, we cannot achieve our full potential. And whatever we do would be vain without God. So I'd like to be remembered for touching people's lives and for the national transformation of our country. That to me is very, very critical, that Nigeria is not living up to its potential as God expects. And nobody else can transform Nigeria other than His people. He'd like to see us making an impact in our nation, transforming the value system, transforming the character, and so on and so forth.
As a word of advice to the younger generation, he says,
well, first and foremost, many people know about God. And it's very easy to know about God. You can read the Bible, it'll tell you lots of things about God. The key is to know God personally for yourself. You cannot know God through your pastor. You cannot know God through your friends. You need to know Him personally. He is not a distant God that is miles and miles and miles away. He is near you, even on the inside of you. So the foundation of any successful life is a relationship with God. That's what Christianity is. It's a relationship. It's not so much a religion. So knowing God first, that's the key. And then having a personal walk with Him. You know, lots of people have problems because our society, the modern world, consumes a lot of time. Every day there's a huge demand on your time. Your business demands your time. Your career demands your time. Your friendships, relationships, they all demand your time. But we must make time for God, because the time we make for God is going to be a blessing to us in so many ways that it creates time for all the other important things in our lives. My key message is God. He's got to be at the center of your life.
For the Pagepedia Videography Challenge, he nominates the following people whose lives are worthy of emulation.
Well, I would say this. I'd love to give you the names of 4 or 5 people, and I'll give them to you, because if I give you 4 or 5, the others that I didn't name will probably be upset with me. So I'll give them to you personally.
This information is accurate as of 12th October 2016 and does not reflect subsequent edits. This recording is distributed under the terms of pagepedia.com.